After Michel Platini was banned from football for receiving a payment of $2 million from then President Sepp Blatter, he revealed information that may finally lead us to discovering what actually happened at the infamous '98 World Cup, and whether many of the conspiracy theories were correct. Going into the '98 World Cup in France, Ronaldo Nazario of Brazil, the winner of the 1997 Ballon d'Or, and Zinedine Zidane of France, who had finished third that year, were the two superstars that everyone was watching out for. Brazil and France had reached the final, Ronaldo versus Zidane, the game that everyone wanted to see. However, on the day of the game, Ronaldo's name was left off the team sheet, with Edmundo starting ahead of him up front. The official reason given was that Ronaldo had suffered an ankle injury in the semi-final against the Netherlands, but the actual reason was much worse. Brazil then resubmitted their team sheet, with Ronaldo now starting and Edmundo on the bench, but something wasn't right. Zidane scored 2 as France convincingly beat Brazil 3-0 to secure their first ever World Cup on home soil as well. And Ronaldo didn't look like the same El Phenomenal that had scored 34 goals that season for Inter Milan in 97-98 and 47 goals the season before for Barcelona in 96-97, seeing him win the 97 Ballon d'Or. I did do a whole video on Ronaldo's amazing 96-97 season for Barcelona. That video will be linked in the description below, so check that out after this video. Also, if you do like the look of these phone cases, I'll leave the link in the description below. Anything you buy will help support the channel. My personal favourite is the Ronaldo Sue celebration one, even though I do also like the Fergie one as well. But be sure to go over to the site linked in the description. They've got a lot of other designs as well, and if you use code AF at checkout, you should get 25% off as well. Ronaldo had in fact suffered a convulsive fit hours before the game, with Roberto Carlos finding Ronaldo foaming at the mouth in his room. Dr. Lido Toledo gave Ronaldo the all clear, a decision that he would later say he felt he had to make or risk public outcry back in Brazil. Ronaldo begged Brazil manager Mario Zagallo to start him, and after some hesitation and reported arguments in the Brazil camp, Zagallo put Ronaldo back into the starting 11, with Edmundo returning to the bench. Theories were circulating about why Ronaldo was allowed to start after having a seizure just hours before, whilst theories about whether there was something more behind Brazil's loss had gained traction as well, and 24 years later, it's still not 100% clear. However, there are two main conspiracies. See, Nike had penned a $200 million 10-year deal with the Brazilian Football Federation to sponsor the national side. Nike had also signed Ronaldo to a 10-year deal in '96 and a lifetime endorsement worth over $180 million. And during the '98 World Cup, he wore their custom R9 Mercurial boots, arguably the most iconic boots of all time. I am thinking of doing a video looking at the most iconic football boots in football history, so if you want to see that, put a comment in the comment section below and subscribe and click the bell so you get notified if that video does come out. See, there were accusations that Nike had too much influence over the Brazilian national side because of their sponsorship. Edmundo in 1998 had claimed that Nike had undue influence over proceedings, stating that not only were Nike officials with the Brazilian camp 24/7, but there were also many clauses in Ronaldo and Brazil's contract, one of which stated that Ronaldo had to play the full 90 minutes of each game, and there were other known clauses as well, like the one that stated that Ronaldo had to play for his country every 2 years or his contract would be null and void. He also said that it was Nike who had forced Ronaldo to play in the final. And when you delve deeper into the Nike conspiracy theory, it does make a lot more sense. In that World Cup final, Adidas was sponsoring not just France but also Zidane, and so Nike would not have wanted their direct rivals to steal their limelight. But also remember I told you about the $200 million fee that Brazil would receive in 1996 for the Nike sponsorship? Well, that was really $160 million, as $40 million was transferred from Nike to a Swiss bank account affiliated with the Brazilian marketing firm Traffic, on top of the initial $160 million sponsorship deal. Jose Hawilla, the founder and owner of Traffic, had then transferred $20 million to Ricardo Teixeira, the president of the Brazilian Football Federation, the definition of a kickback. Teixeira and Hawilla were later indicted on corruption charges in regards to different cases in the 2010s. But there was also another claim that Brazil had sold the World Cup. Sepp Blatter, who had recently become FIFA president just before the start of the tournament, had reportedly wanted France to win in order to ease the social tension that France was feeling in the country during the late 1990s. In exchange, reportedly, Brazil's players had received a total of $23 million in bribes, the promise of Brazil hosting the 2006 World Cup, and an easy passage in the 2002 World Cup to throw the game. Ronaldo refused to have any part of this, this, hence Edmundo's name being in the starting lineup instead. But Ronaldo changed his mind after Nike threatened to withdraw his sponsorship money, and the idea was for Brazil to lose with a golden goal. But since they were so shaken by the deal, France, who were unaware of the plot, scored 3 times in 90 minutes. Now this does seem like an extremely outlandish theory, but Brazil would host the World Cup later in 2014 and would go on to win the 2002 World Cup. But even though on paper their draw in that World Cup did seem relatively comfortable, you have to factor in that France, the reigning European champions at the time, had been on their side of the draw and would have met them in the knockout stages, but for completely falling apart in the group stage. However, corruption isn't exactly foreign to FIFA, and in 2018, after the FIFA corruption pyramid was beginning to fall, Michel Platini admitted that FIFA had made sure that if France and Brazil had won their groups, which they did, the draw would make sure that they wouldn't face each other until the final, because in his words, that was the final that everyone wanted to see. And once you factor in the crazy case of South Korea at the 2002 World Cup, which I will explain in the second part of this video, which will be linked in the description below, you may see that corruption for certain nations at World Cups may not just be a conspiracy theory. So what do you think happened? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell. Check out the description for some other videos as well. And for the phone cases, click the link in the description. It will help to support the channel.